Okay, Shalom Aleichem, everybody. I'd like to discuss sugar. You know, Amola was much more negeya. I mean, today maybe still, but I remember my grandfather, when he would eat a tea, drink a tea, he would put the sugar in his mouth first, right? You still do that? People, the cube, right? The tits helps, yeah? You still do that? So over there, you would go ahead and you would make that bracha on that cube, that shahakal, and that's really right, even before you drink the tea, because they wanted, I don't know what the pshat in that was, but they wanted, I guess, that it should be, sweet before they, I don't know why they didn't put it into the tea itself. It's no pshat in them. But upon him, they didn't want to what? Oh, they wanted to make shahakal on that rather than the tea?
Maybe the tea was too hot, like somebody
So why didn't they just put the sugar into the tea? Yeah, well, we're not that much smarter than them. That's what you think that was the cheshbon? Hard for me to believe. I don't know. We're just trying to understand why they would drink this sugar, why they would have that sugar.
The mitzates?
No, why would we go ahead? My grandfather.
Oh, the sugar cubes me?
Yeah, and
why they did it that way, Messias?
Yeah, why didn't they just put it into the tea? Like we got smarter than them?
Maybe it was harder.
He said something.
Maybe,
No, I can't say.
maybe theirs didn't dissolve like melach.
Think so?
Crystallized. It was so hard, it didn't dissolve because our stuff's processed.
Right. No, but even my grandfather would take even our stuff, the sugar cubes, and they would do that, right?
No, they would put a sugar cube like in Russia and drank it. No, you asked me why. I was asking why they didn't dissolve it. Because I think that stuff
that's what they were used to once.
You put it wouldn't dissolve.
So once they were used to that, so they came in and
Right, they did the same way also, right?
Okay, interesting. Yeah. That's a little bit like what Gadam has been saying. Like, that's what they did. I remember my grandfather just holding it by his mouth. Okay.
No, it was.
Oh yeah. Okay, I just wanted to say before we start the sugya, I know you learned about peels, so I just had an interesting shakal v'taya with some paiskim about apple peels. On orange peels, we know that there's a machlekes, three-way machlekes. If you make a bayer pe'adama, a bayer pe'etz, or shahakal. The Taz says that shayme pri kepri, the Gemara learns down, Lamazvav and Beis, I'm sure you saw that before yesterday, the day before. And the Gemara says shayme lepri, and which means, but legabe bracha, it's not considered a pri. So it's only considered a pri legabe dine arla or something, but legabe bracha, you make a bayer pe'adama. Now, orange peels are not really eaten today. People don't really eat orange peels. Amal, they would make sometimes. Barley used to make it with chocolate covered. Okay, Kenzain. So that was also it's very negeya. What bracha you make today? Mistama has bugs, and who knows what? Everything has bugs. So mistama you can't eat it anymore. But Amal, they weren't infested with bugs, and they were able to eat it. Or I remember as a child, they would have, maybe they still do it, ices. They would make ices in that orange peel. Orange ices, and they would present it to you in the orange peel. So some people would eat the orange peel. So the Taz says you make a bayer pe'adama. The Magen Avraham says you make a bayer pe'etz, because Shem Pri is the pri, just like the Gabe Allah, so to the Gabe the bracha. And the Eilis Talmud says that you make a shahakal. So that is something which is not really eaten. So that I don't really care. I want to know some apple peels. L'chayra, apple peels should be the same shayla. It's a shayla pri. A shayla pri, you should make either eitz or adama. Fine.
What's the mitzvah that's not nimtzak? There's always some apple on the peel. How often?
Oh.
How do you get the apple by itself, the peel by itself?
Okay, so that's yeah. So Rabbi Gottesman is timing very simple. We're klaying a shayla, which is really not negeya. But sometimes you do have it. If your wife is making sometimes applesauce or something, and she would go ahead and take a peeler and just peel around the apple.
Yeah, it's possible.
And it's only apple peel.
Well, it's cooked already. It's easy to take out the peel by itself. The apple is cooked already. Peel just comes
True, right. Oh, very good. Cooked apples, a lot of times baked apples. Baked apples, a lot of times you'll eat the apple peel itself. That's good, yeah. So the shayla is what type of bracha. So there's a shevet HaKahasi who's a B'Shamai HaKohen Gross, he's a Belzadayan at Tzvah, there's a few Chubas Tzvahim. He writes over there that the whole machlekes the Taz and the Magen Avraham was only klipas marantzim, oranges. Why? Because over there it's not really lechel only if you cook it. So therefore it's not the gufa pri. So therefore the Taz says you make a bayar pri adama. But apples, everyone agrees apple peels you make a bayar pri eitz. Okay, this is a very negaya. You bake apples, and you take out right away. Bits? Yeah, okay, 1 second. So you take out apples, and you go ahead, and you just baked apples. Sometimes you would just eat the peel. So the Shevet HaKasim Nisrael says the same thing in Chutshani. He writes that you would make a bayar pri eitz. The Shvile David and others write that you do not make a bayar pri eitz. Why? Because it's so thin, it's not considered a meichel b'chlal. Unless it's connected to the guf hapri, like Shlomo said, that sometimes it's command impossible to eat just the apple peel itself. But without that, you would not make a bayar pri eitz. I asked this to Abdullah Feinstein, and he says that you do make a bayar pri eitz. When I spoke to Moshe Steinbach, he told me that you do make, it depends. If the derech ha'olam is to eat it, you'll make a bayar pri eitz. If the derech ha'olam is not to eat it, you'll make a shahakal. So I think that the derech ha'olam is not to eat it if your wife is peeling apples and with a potato peeler, and it comes out mama's just the peel itself. It's not normal to eat it. It doesn't taste good. There's a dryness to it. You could choke on it. And if someone eats it, I feel like a Moshe Steinbach that you should make a shahakal. Yeah? Buy a baked apple over there. It is the derech to eat. But a raw apple that people would go ahead and eat the peel itself, over there, the derech ha'olam is not to eat it. And I feel like you would make a shahakal. Yeah? You hear what I'm telling you? Okay. Now, one more shayla the guy with the peels on oranges. There's the orange peel, and then there's the white. Right? And then there's the orange itself. The white around the orange. What bracha do you make on that white?
You know what it's called?
No.
That white thing.
No, what's it called?
I think Rabbi Snyder. I think it's called.
Someone has.
It's commonly called the pith. Its technical term is albedo, ALBEDO. It's very high in nutrition, but it's very bitter.
Very, very high in nutrition. And people eat that before they start eating the orange. Now, let's say your wife peels you an orange. You take off a little bit of that white and you bite into it. And you eat it, right? It's called the pith. They said something like that.
Pith, PITH.
Really? Okay. So, and this, all the mothers, the babbas say that this is high in nutrition. No one can prove them wrong. So, that's ungenommen. Fine. So now, what bracha do you make on that?
If you're eating it by itself.
No, yeah, sure. You eat it by yourself. Today you get used to it. You never peel off before you get to the orange.
It's not always perfect. The peel doesn't always perfect.
The peel doesn't always come off, and you eat it. No, to scrape it out. No, so what bracha do you make on that? It's ma'asim b'chol yom. People are eating that peel, that white part that's still not of the orange completely. And if you're eating it along with the orange, it's pasha, you don't make a bracha. But if you're eating it on its own, what bracha do you make?
Oh, I know.
You're getting nutrition, you're getting there's some bitterness to it. Huh?
Lo not to lakaf.
It's lav what?
Lav not to lakaf. They didn't.
Right, lo not to lakach. Okay. So I have a question for you. He's saying a very good svar. He's saying lo not to lakach. And we learned the sugyas already, that when something's lo not to lakach, then you make it goes down in bracha. You lose its bayar pri eitz, and let's say it goes down to bayar pri adama. So you're passing the ma'isa that if someone's eating an orange and his wife peeled it for him, and now he peels off that little white part, then what bracha you make? You make two brachas. You have a adama, and then you make a eitz. Okay? That's what, I don't know who was saying this online, but it seems like someone feels that you should make a bayar pri adama. Now, oh, you have an orange. You're sitting with orange. No, what are you eating? Oh.
What's the question? I don't understand.
He's saying that it is not the lakach because it's grown with it. Now, I have a question.
No,
for you.
but it's not grown with nobody. There's no pith industry. Is there a pith industry that they're selling piths?
No, there's no as much as
So it can't be
nutrition.
Nutella.
Divided, there's no mother that decided that it's that healthy that they should sell it separate. Right. So it's not, but that's not
You
good.
have one there?
So now, apple. Okay.
You bought an apple.
We brought apple instead. Okay, fine. But the question is that how weit do I say not to the kach, which is very, very negel halach. Again, I didn't need to speak about this today, but just one nakuda. That means in the orange itself, right? What's in an orange? You have each tapuz is a thing for itself. Each section is a thing for itself. Now, what you do is you like the juice of it. You bite it and you like the juice of it. If you're left with just the plastic, sometimes you can bite it out and you're left with the juice. If you're left, not the plastic, the
pulp.
the skin, the skin. Some people won't even eat that, right? Because what you want is the juice of it. So you'll bite it, and sometimes you have a little pulp. You're not going to eat that. That skin of what's holding the juice. So now, what bracha do you make on that itself? You say that you're really eating that just to get to the juice. You're not really looking to eat that skin. It doesn't taste that great. That skin has absolutely no taste. The skin is nothing. It's the pulp inside that has the taste. So what bracha do you make on that? You say you don't say that. So that's why that year over there is trying to taina that over here it's one fruit. You don't say this part of it not this part not. But that lemais is not true. Because why is that not true? Because we see that the klipa of of an orange or anything like that, the real klipa, which is the real peel, over there we say that loy natya and we say it goes down a bracha. So if so too over here it should go down a bracha. So let me tell you what the halacha is. The Shulchan says, dafka if you eat it with the pre. If you don't eat it with the pre, it gets a new bracha. What bracha? Zok the pischei halacha. You make a shahakel niya b'dvara. Okay, that's what he says. Now, that's very not pashut, because if you're gonna make people do this many, many times, and therefore you have to be careful. When you eat an orange and that white part is left on it, some place can you make a shahakel. Now, at the end of the day is what should be done. Best eitzah is eat it first with orange, and then you don't make a bracha on it anymore. Once it was a tuffle, it stays a tuffle, even if you can eat it. So first, take off a bite of the orange, make a bite of p8, and do not make a shahakel on that before you start, because since machlekes hapaiskim, we do not want you making a shahakel. Okay, let's start with today's sugya, which is dealing with sugar. So I think it's kedai to have it along.
What's the psak on this pit thing?
In this pit thing, do not eat it before. There's no on them. There's a tzat, very strong tzat to say you make a shahakel.
So you have to eat it. You have to make the eight patas al stuffle.
And
why is it a tuffle? It's not. It's a separate thing.
Because part of it's always eaten along with the orange. It's impossible to take off every.
People take it off.
No, so if you take it off afterwards, then it's already a tuffle to the whole orange. You wouldn't stop going to the fridge. Okay, let me just eat the white stuff. So but if you eat it first, the same way every ikka of a tuffle, you're not supposed to eat the tuffle first because then there's a shayla and bracha. So too over here.
Eggshell.
Eggshell's not right lachila. Please don't eat it. The pith is right lachila. Okay, eggshell. If your wife keeps it in the egg, you get all upset. What's this crunch doing in the egg, right? Okay. Now let's start with
the Holocaust. They ate eggshells. That's
they ate eggshells. Just the eggshells.
What else? They had to eat something. So,
Wow.
Calcium.
Eggshells have calcium. How do they test that? All right. Fine.
They made of something.
Okay, so it means good for heartburn. If you have heartburn, you should eat eggshells. Yeah. Now let's start with sugar. So I think did they have any pictures of sugar canes?
Yes.
That's really
Pesach, are you around? Let's start putting the pictures up. Here we go. The Rav can get many pictures of sugar.
Oh, really? They have it? Okay, good.
The long stalks.
We have ours, but we can't see this on the screen.
Whose is this? This is Pesach's? So what happened to those long sugar canes you had before? They're here? I can't see it. No, the tall ones. But that's there, right?
1 second, I'm being blocked. You have different pictures than I have. How come you, on the screen is different pictures than what I have? Why is that? Oh, you mean he's showing on the screen and I see from him? Oh,
What's that? Here,
well, you
okay.
have good pictures.
No, now
Oh.
the Rav Shulk now. That,
Oh, okay, fine.
Here you
Oh,
go on
okay.
the screen.
Oh, okay, fine, yeah. Okay, so sugar doesn't grow like when we get it in the bag. Obviously, this is how sugar grows. So sugar is called sugar cane. Now you see these stalks.
It's not the green one. It's the
hulks,
bamboo.
the bamboo itself. So what do? How do they make sugar? You know how they make sugar? What do they do with this bamboo?
They boil it.
They cook it, right? Now they cook it in water. The water then, I guess they freeze it or something, or they take
evaporate it off.
Okay, so say what they do. Let's say.
Yeah, Shmuel Yosef, what's the procedure for making this stuff? Do you know?
They boil it and then they evaporate off the water and left with the residue.
Evaporate
It's
the
hard
water.
and they grind it.
Right. Yeah, that's what they do. Right. Exactly. So now, what we're going to be discussing first is the sugar cane itself. What they would do is they would take a sugar cane and chew it. Chew it would have a sweetness to it. That's what sugar was. So the Rach over here in the Lamed Vav Amid Beis says, "Va'al devash kanim." Not every Gemara has it. Says va'al. You made a video. Okay, right. That's that. Yeah. Va'al devash kanim. Shenika tzuker mevachen bayre pietz. You make a bayre pietz. If you should make tziyai mi bishul hakanim hamasukim. You take it out from the kanim hamasukim, from the sweet kanim. Taisvis. Let's see, Taisvis Berativa. Taisvis says at the end of the Taisvis on Lamed Vav Amid Beis, Va'al Tzukara. Mivachinon, it's like 5 lines from the bottom of the Taisvis. Va'al Tzukara.
Page 4, everybody. The books are page 4. Let's go. Prices there in Moscow were Tiva.
Right. Yeah, there you go. A little bit lower. Berativa. Zak Taisvis. Va'al Tzukara. Yeah, like 5 lines from the end of Taisvis. You got it, good. Va'al tzukara. Mevachin bayer pietz. Why? Because it says ki yari im divshi. Zet tzukara, that's sugar. Fine, so that's it. So Taisvis tells us that on sugar you make a bayer pietz because it says ki yari im divshi. Now, what does this say? What does it say in the pasuk to do a bayer pietz? Yari im divshi has to do a bayer pietz. Zok Aruch HaShulchan. Yar, what's yar? Forest, yeah. So Yarim Divshi, that's sugar. So it's mavur in the pasuk that sugar is a minates, therefore you make a bayer pietz. The Rosh brings from the Bahag, Sukkah mevachin al bayer pietz, bu yara is hadvash. The Bahag says it's very clear, the Bahag in the HaRav, that ikana, that's a sukkah hates, the nati adaiti the sukkah. The reason why it's planted, that's al das of the sugar, and therefore you make a bayer pietz, and therefore many paiskim, many Rishayim, Ruki Yosef, they all feel that a person goes ahead and eats sugar, makes a bayer pietz. Zok the Nachlas David, I don't understand. Why are you making a bayer pietz? Pietz is when you mitzitz the eitz itself. Why is this a pre? Maybe a bayer pietz. What did we speak about last week? Hatza palm. What bracha do you make an hatza palm? We came out very clear, even though it's coming out of the tree, but since it's the tree itself, it's just the soft part of the tree, you make a bayer pi'adama. We did not understand it behind in the sack, and we went, you make a bayer pi'adama and hatza palm. Question, why is this any different? This is the tree itself. If it's the tree itself, you should go ahead and make a bayer pi'adama, sorry. This is the Nachas David's kasha. Yeah, good kasha. Zok, he doesn't answer this. You're chewing the kanim, make a bayer pi'adam and not a bayer pi'etz. It's the tree itself. On the tree itself, we make a bayer pi'adam and not a bayer pi'etz. That is his question. What could you say? How do you answer such a question? This is a very valid taina. When someone goes ahead and is eating the tree itself, he doesn't make a bayer pi'etz, he makes a bayer pi'adam. What do we say? that when Taisus and these Rishonim explain that you make your Bayer P8, that's not talking about when you're being meitzitz the sugar itself, the bamboo, the stick. Over there, Avadi, you make a Bayer P Adama. But we're discussing what came out of the tree. Our sugar. You took it out of the tree. Now it's like a pre coming out of a tree. Therefore, since it's like a pre coming out of a tree, therefore I make a Bayer P8. Okay? So what Taisa said, that doesn't make a difference if there's no other fruit. What we were saying last week, we were saying a svara, that since I'm eating the tree itself, so therefore I should make a Bayer Pri Adama, not a Bayer Pri. So we're asking, why? What's the sound of these Rishonim that you make a Bayer Pri? This is the Nachas David's kasha, it's not our kasha. Zokt. So what are we answering? We're saying that you're right. Taisus was not discussing chewing the piece of wood itself. Taisus is discussing the sugar that came out of the wood. The sugar that came out of the wood is like a pri, and therefore you can make a Bayer Pri. That's what Taisus is discussing. That comes out, like Taisus and all the Rishonim that we mentioned, the Rosh, the Bahag, Muki Yosef, Azurua, the Match, all of them feel very strongly that you make a Bayer Pri. Rashi has a sefer called Sefer Oira. And Rashi writes over there, you make a Bayer Pri Adam, a klala de milsa. Kol shu pri mevachin ala Bayer Pri. It's a pri, you make a Bayer Pri. The chol she'enei pri, afal gav the me'etz kanafki, it comes out of the eitz. Oy man the achel klipe eitz, loy mevachin ala Bayer Pri Adam. If something is not a pri, you make a Bayer Pri Adam, and that's what the Ramban says in the Chuvas Vaz. Like we understand mitzvah. Why should I make a Bayer Pri? It's not a pri coming out of the tree. We set up as a teretz that I'm not talking about the tree itself, I'm talking about the sugar that came out of the tree. But that's not a good enough answer. These are Rishonim feel. These are Rishonim feel that if it's a fruit coming out of a tree, so that I make a Bayer Pri. But if it's just something that you squeezed out of the tree, that's a Bayer Pri Adama. So therefore, those Rishonim feel very strongly, what bracha do you make? You make a Bayer Pri Adama and not a Bayer Pri. Now, so far we have two shittas Rishonim. We have some Rishonim that say you make a Bayer Pri Adama, and we have some Rishonim that say you make a Bayer Pri. There's a third day, which is the Rambam Shita. And the Rambam says that you make a Shahaka. He says, I know that the Ga'inim say you make a Bayer Pri Adama, and some say Bayer Pri. It's not normal for the Rambam to go like that and say that there's some that say Bayer Pri Adama and some that say Bayer Pri. But, Vani Ayman, look, the Rambam. She'ein ze pri, ve'ein mevachin olav Shahaka. So he doesn't have a tzad of Adama. He says it's not a pri, and the only bracha you make is shaka. Why? Shalo yeh dvash elu akonim shenishtana yedei or agadol medvash tamarim. How do you get this idea? It's not any different than dvash tamarim, and therefore shalo nishtana yedei mevachin olav shaka. What you're saying with Zeh Ba'alma, it's a good question, but the answer is that when I have a pri, then I say Zeh Ba'alma, the mashal. I have an orange, and the derech is to eat the orange itself, so then I'll say that what came out of it is Zeh Ba'alma. But over here, the tree, the tachas of the tree is the sugar. There's nothing else for the tree. It's not a tree, whatever is the shoot that's growing. So therefore, it's not stam Zeh Ba'alma. What?
The shoot, but why is there any?
Oh, yeah. He's asking a good shot. We saw pictures of it. What does this look like? This looks like a tall bush, grass maybe, right? So why am I making a Bayer Pri? He's asking Stam with the whole thing.
No, but it's like a bamboo of a sukkah.
Does it fall down every year? What is this?
That's a good child.
That's a very good shiloh, what he's asking. You hear Rabbi Black? He's asking that why B'chlal is it a Bayer Pri? I should make a Bayer Pri Adama. Is that who? That's a very good question.
Where's the H part of it, B'chlal?
Yeah, this thing doesn't last. Does it last? What's the Matthias? Do we have any pictures that it lasts?
You can't show that in a picture.
They wouldn't know if it lasts?
Well, we know that there's.
I don't know how to answer your question. I mean, I would think to say that it does last and it stays tall. I can't see so much from those pictures, but it's very possible that it does have a height to it and it stays like that and it stays and it just continues on. Mishana Lashana. But that's a good question. It'll come out that you have to know in Eretz Yisrael if there's Arla on it. What's perennial mean?
Yield from year to year.
It continues. Okay? That's the answer to your
One
question.
second, you said.
Oh, the other way?
No, you just precise yourself. Gross, you mean
Sugar
it
cane-
regenerates or it doesn't regenerate?
Sugar cane is a perennial grass, meaning it doesn't have to be replanted every year. It does not have to be replanted.
It grows by itself.
Oh,
That's
not
a
that it
tree.
goes by itself. Yeah, I mean, whatever. Once you plant it, it keeps on growing. That's a tree. That's a tree.
Cut it and-
So the Rav should repeat it for the island then.
Okay. The question was a very good question. He said that a sugar cane, the way it looks in the pictures, the way we started the share, it looked like that was just like some tall shoots off the ground. And what's the tzad b'chlal that it should be a Bayer Prietz? I mean, many Rishonim are saying it's a Bayer Prietz. Why should that be a Bayer Prietz? And Bekitzer, we didn't know the Metzias. We were just mavad that the Metzias is that it does stay Mishana Lashana. And Faket, you'll be a Chiyav Arla, and it's Yisrael to be a regular Chiyav Arla. So that's Kla. It's a Bayer Prietz. And that means the tree itself is a tree. It's not just a little a bush that comes up and down every year. Therefore, the Ikadei and the Rishonim is a Bayer Prietz. There's some Rishonim, like we said, mentioned the Bayer Priadam, but now we're dealing with the Rambam, and the Rambam says that it's a Shahaka. So the Kesef Mishnah explains the Rambam, it grows like grass. Well, that's what we just said, Reb Heschel, that it seems like it doesn't grow like grass. It's a tree. Right? That's what we're saying now. Okay. So the Rambam again says that you make a Shahaka. Zok the Kesef Mishnah, two reasons why the Rambam is arguing on the Ga'ainim that say that you make a Bayer Prietz. First, he says, Ein Zeh Pri. It's not a Pri. Why? Because that's not something coming out of the tree. That's the tree itself. So you make a Shahaka. V'aid, even if it is a Pri, he says, by sugar, it's not any better than Dvash tomorrow. Okay? The honey coming out of a Tamar. You know that there's honey coming out of a Tamar? This is the Rambam. What? Yes, exactly. Cholav, Zavas, Udvash. Where's Dvash? From the tomorrow. Okay, so therefore, that would be considered, Dr. Rambam, it's two reasons why we should make a Shahaka. Now, the Tur is very bothered. The Tur is in the end of Simon Reish Beis, and he's very bothered with the second reason. The Rambam, he says it's not similar to Dvash Tamarim. Tamarim is a pri that rejuvenate from the roots, no trunk. Oh, okay. This is very interesting ideas that's going on over here. Abashal Kapel is saying that it rejuvenates from the roots and not the trunk. Okay, so you know what? We're going to have to wait for all this for the Afmem to discuss what's a Bayer Prietz and Bayer Priadam. We'll have to see if it stems with these Rishonim. It's going to have to stem because the Rishonim.
We still discussed. We did Daf Mem already a little bit yesterday.
You did?
Yeah, that knows the basics.
How did you get to that?
Because
Okay, whatever.
Here in our Pre or
Right, yeah, very
dominates. So
Okay.
we'll come back to it again.
Okay, Mitshem, yeah, we're giving a share on that when it comes to strawberries and all that stuff, to know if you make a, what's mechayev, blueberries, all these things, to make a Bayer Priadama or a Bayer Prietz. But getting back to here, we're not going to argue on those Rishonim that say Bayer Prietz. We're not going to say that today it's grown different than Amal. That's saying that you make a Bayer Prietz. They hold that it is a tree. And even the ones that say Bayer Priadam are not arguing, and the ones that say Shak are not arguing if it's a tree. The Machlekes says if this is called a pri, but not to say that it's not, if it's not not. But Akapanim, not to say that it's not a tree, so it definitely goes into all the definition of a tree. The question just is, if you're going to go ahead and make a Bayer Prietz, because that's the tree, Bayer Priadam, or now again, we're dealing with the Rambam that says Shahakal. So the Rambam said the second reason was because it's like Adif Midvash tomorrow. Now the Torah asks on this reason. He says, "Tomorrow main pri the natilu adaita la'achla." Tomorrow is a pri that you planted to eat it. So therefore, when you mishtana the pri, we learned this earlier in the sugyas. When you mishtana it, when there's a shina to it, then the bracha goes down to a next level, which is shahaka. But these kanim that are not roila achila, and the ikin etiyah is for what comes out of it, Pashat you should make a Bayer Prietz. So the Torah has a bumbatain on this Rambam. What's the Rambam telling me to be medamet at Dvash Tamarim? Dvash Tamarim, the ik is the tamar, the honey is just what comes out of it. So Mamela, the ik is a tamar, so you make a Bayer Prietz in the tamar and the honey that comes out of it, you make a shahaka. Masha ain't came by this sugar, the sugar cane. There's nothing else coming out of this sugar cane. What's coming out is just the sugar. So how could you tell me you make a shahaka? Azay frekt the Tur on the Das Rambam. The Pri Megadim is massive to this question, and the Pri Megadim says, Kivon dahani konem adaita dachi nata lemischet lemishlek. Bein la rashba, bein la rosh. The Rashba holds Reva Chilosim is a day cooking. The Rosh that holds in Bishul Api and the Nechas Tam Api, we didn't get to the sugis yet. This is going to be later on when we talk about orange juice and v'chulu and soups with vegetables. But Akapanim Zakta Roy Levarach Alav Piet. So they're very strong on the Rambam that he came in Medamet Vash Tamar to something which makes absolutely to us no sense. They're saying, what's going on over here? Hakim Medama the Dvash Tamar.
Why not?
Dvash Tamarim, the reason why you planted the tree was for the Tamarim.
I'll start to the hachi.
Yeah, not the Adai to the Hachi. Mashenkin over here, there's no, the pshat why you planted it was for the sugar. So that's what this tree is for. So, but the Torah, why should you not make a regular Bayer Priate? That was the Matar plant.
In Germany, they didn't suck it. That's to me, in other words.
Oh, so because the Mishnah comes to answer the kasha of the Torah. Do you know what the Kesef Mishnah was?
Yeah.
Beis Yosef. Okay? So Beis Yosef wrote a lot in his lifetime. We have the Mechaber from him, we have the Beis Yosef, and we have a Kesef Mishnah. The Ikkas Svarim is coming from Maran, as we call it, as the Svardim call it. So he writes over there, it says, to answer the Torah's kasha, V'ani Aymer, Shu'ulai hoya konim halolu nimtzaim ba'atza shel haTorah. If the Torah would have seen these shoots of sugar, he would never time like this. They use it to chew. What comes out of it is like regular meiperis, and therefore the Rambam has a valid taina that you should make a shackle in this because it's regular meiperis, it's regular zeh ba'alma. It says, he's telling you that. Okay, bring it down, thank you. He says, Vani Ayman. Shu'ulai over there on the right side, the Kesef Mishnah says, Vani Ayman. Shu'ulai hoyu ha'konim ha'lolu nimtzoyim ba'atcha shel haTorah. It would have been found in the Atcha shel haTorah lo hoyu tayinke. Shebemokim shenimtzoyim moichim em la'alpayim v'revavos. They sell thousands, tens of thousands. Limtzos oisam v'yamayim ha'yotzim em k'sham me'peres. The water that's coming out on them is regular me'peres. And we know May Paris, what's the bracha? The bracha shahakal. As a matter of fact, that I don't know what you're saying. This bracha is a regular shahakal, it's regular orange juice. You should make a shahakal. Now, that's how the Kesef Mishnah is going to answer the Torah's kasha, and the Kesef Mishnah sticks up for the Rambam that you make a shahakal. The Chuvas Eredvaz says the same, that the Torah never saw this in his lifetime. Very interesting way to talk to each other. That means they didn't know the Metzias. He's telling you, HaRav Atur, you didn't know the Metzias. He was born in Mitzrayim. HaRav Zal Chiber Chibuya b'Mitzrayim Shesham Gedelim Elakanim Yosim Mikol Olam V'Natilu Ad Lodas Advash V'Lim Tzisoysam Kashem Zakim. He goes on, and he has all arichas. You have to know what this plant was created for. Now, the Taz asks on the Kesef Mishnah, Posh the Kash, he says, I don't understand. You're telling me that that's what it was planted for. So, Adarabah, go ahead and make a Bar Pietz. If that's what it was planted for, you're telling me that it was planted to Moitzes. Tens of thousands of trees were planted to be Moitzes. He says, Adarabah, go ahead and make a Bar Pietz. That is his question on the Torah. Now, on the Kesef Mishnah, sorry. The Achrayim, the Bi'alacha, has a whole arichas on this. And I don't know if the time allows it. What time? No, the time doesn't allow this. So we're not going to go through the machlokes. There's a hard tzvi and there's an HBrachos trying to explain the machlokes. But let me move fast forward a little bit, which is negeya to us. The Bi'alacha in the end of Siman Reish Beis, the Bi'amaschal ala sugar. He says, he brings the Rambam and the Torah, and he says, L'chayot tzatku divrei haTorah. The Torah is right. The Vadai Ikin Tias Elu Hakonim Waldas Hasukah. Vuadava Choshev Shebekonim. This is the most choshev part of these shoots. What do I care what people are doing? The Ein El Anah Kolshu V'Dava Tafel. Aval ikin etiyase al das sugar. That is the ikin etiyah, is for the sugar. And he brings kach kosav abahag, ha'eshko evariyaz. And the Gra holds like this also. Mevarchen ala sugar bayer creates. Even she'ikin etiyah sakana mibishvil. That is the matara of this etiyah sakana. Maskana. What does the Bi'alacha hold? That he says very clear. That if you go ahead and you make on the sugar bayer pri'adama, you yaitze b'di'evet. And if you're eating sugar from the sugar canes, you make it by pe'etzi yatza. Why? Because many Rishonim and Paiskim hold that you make it by pe'etz or by pe'adam.
In other words, they suck the wood and the sugar came out from the suck. I mean, it's covered. The stuff is inside. How did it come out? Akasha.
Yeah, no. If you suck
I'm sucking the wood outside, it seeps through.
the sweetness comes out. Yeah,
It comes out.
yeah. Now, so let's try to make somewhat of a sikum. The Taz says you make a by pe'etz, and that's what the Gaon holds. The Shulchan Aruch says in Reish Beis Siftes Vav, you have it. It's being blocked.
Yes, we do. Now it's being blocked. Don't know why. Okay, it'll unblock in a second.
Okay. The Mechaber Siftes Vav. Ala Sukkah. Mevarach Shahakel. You make a bracha Shahakel. V'chein hamoitzes kana mesukos. You make a Shahakel.
You want a book?
Zok the Mishabur. No,
You okay?
he's putting it up.
Yeah.
Zok the Mishabur. Sifkat Nai involved. What's the reason for this? Shahakel gam came mitam hanal da akona ba'atzma yu eitz ba'alma. V'ef shel ha'oichloi ela sheyesh ba'mesikas. V'mkein le'odef ha'meitzes is a mesikas me'etz me'elu shtachat es a zeya azois v'shasta. Just like you take out zeya v'pri, you make a shahakel, so too over here. So now, he says, he goes skip a few lines over there, v'da. The af, the shashulchan aruch sasam ledina da al sukkah. V'alakonim b'chasa shahakel be'emes yesh b'zeh deyes ben rishonim k'ma shemu b'abetur u'beis yosef u'misveika pasak levarech shahakel. The b'zeh yoytze b'di'evet l'kula alma. Shenasa mi'berikis gamken yesh savach l'chatchila shahakel b'di'evet n'birich by pe'adam yotza What's
Berachos have to do with this?
Berachos is not the Berachos that we call Berachos in Eretz Yisrael. Yeah, beet sugar.
That's beet sugar. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. So he tells you very clearly that the halacha is to make a shahakel, but he says that if you made a bayer pe'adama, you yaitze. Now, the Chai Adam says.
So it's a shakel misafik, not the Rambam's shakel.
Right. Not that it's shahakel vada like the Rambam. Shahakel is misafik. And that what you just said, Rav Shlomo, is a very, very important nakuda, what you want to discuss now. The Chai Adam in Klal Samach, Sif Aleph writes, B'makoim sheyesh safik bracha. Yesh l'saken sheyevarech ha'ma'at sukkah shahakel v'yifta gam ha'isei adava. We come to supper and we don't know what to make, some brachas. Mesupik, what to make, you'll see, you'll learn more Masechtas Brachos, you'll get more Mesupik. So you go ahead and you decide, you go into the closet and you see a sugar square, a sugar, what's it called? Cube. What do? You decide, you know what? Shahakel I need. You're not going to take a cup of water, because a cup of water only if you're thirsty. So you won't make a shahakel in a cup of water to pat the other. So what are you going to do? Zak Chai Adam? No problem. Take a piece of sugar and make a shahakel. This is what the Chai Adam tells us to do. Not the Chachmas Adam, the Chai Adam. Yeah. The Chai Adam is in Siman Samach, Sif Aleph. Is this it? Yeah? No. It's further. Further. Yeah, right there. You got it like half underline. Ubemakom sheyesh safik bracha. Yesh l'saken sheyevarech ha'ma'at sukkah. You see it? We have a little blue. What means a little bit blue? You have it? V'yifta gamay se'adava da'afilu b'sech asuda tzarach levarech al sukkah. This is negayah to what we spoke about last week. We discussed that if someone eats salt, he dips his finger into the salt during, he's bored in the HBrachos, he goes out in the middle of a suda and just like goes ahead and licks his finger off, he would make a shahakel. So he says, so too by sugar, you would go ahead and make a shahakel. So now, Fact Ktsaisa Shulchan. What's going on over here?
Who was the Ktsaisa Shulchan? A bit, tell us about him.
Ktsaisa Shulchan was for the Gedolei HaPoskim in Yerushalayim. Ktsaisa Shulchan. Not sure. Ktsaisa Shulchan. Yeah, Reb Chaim no. We know him a lot for his shiur.
Counter. Right.
He argued on the Chazon Ish. So I think he had to do with Eitz Chaim, right? Was he in Eitz Chaim?
Talking about everybody in Yerushalayim, then it was in Eitz Chaim.
Huh?
He's Lubavitcher, right?
Yeah, so what the Ktsaisa Shulchan, if you look at the Matar of the Sefer, most of the Sefer is there to go ahead. The Ktsaisa Shulchan Sim Mem Tes. So there's 7 volumes. No, you're not going to find it in the first volume. It's Sim Mem Tes of Cotton Chavav. So most of it is going on the Shulchan HaRav. You'll see on the bottom, and he has it's halachas on the top, and on the bottom he's quoting always he's always quoting the Rav, and that means he's going on the Shulchan HaRav. He was
Which the Mishabura often omitted. Interesting,
yes, because he was more of a Chabatzka.
Right.
It was Angenommen, and his shiurim are very Angenommen. Not that he's I can't say it's about plucked on the Chazon Ish, but I don't know about his shiurim. He was much more Mekel than Chazon Ish. Mekel or Machmer, whatever be. He was more to the 18 inches. Or the Amma is more like 18 inches, and the Chazon Ish was more like 24 inches.
Could be a chumrah.
Very negay legabe tzitzis. If you're going to use 18 inches for Amma, or you're going to use 24 inches. That's not mamish 18 inches, but he was much more of a Machmer. And some people hold that he had no right to be about plucked in the Chazon Ish, but he was a very chashaviyid, very chashaviyid. And he doesn't need my askama.
The Dateline also was
Very big, yeah.
that was his biggest one. Right?
Yeah, that was extremely, yeah. So he's very ma'ir now on this in Sim Mem Tes of Cotton Chavav. Like upon him, he's ma'ir that I don't understand this Chai Adam. How could you go ahead and make a bracha shehakal on sugar to pata something else when sugar itself is a machlokes? When the Mishabura paskin that sugar you make a shehakal, that was because of machlokes. So therefore, how could he go ahead and tell you that the Chai Adam comes along and tells you, you know what? You want to start your Suda now? Make a bracha first on sugar. What are you doing? How can you make a bracha on sugar? That's a machlokes. Don't make a bracha to pat to other things when you have machlokes itself. Very stakatana. Now, so he says, Mikol Mokaim, Hadas Noita, the Kivon Shekva Nog, Alma Levarch, Al Sugar Shahakal, Yesh Lashas Kain Gam, Vichdel Dinotzim, Misafak Achille B'loi Bracha. But he's very bothered with it. The Shevet HaLevi says that even though there's some machmirim to say that you make a bar adam on sugar, but l'may cigarette, like a tchila, you can make a shahakal, so maybe, therefore, you could go ahead and pat it. The Zalman also says that maybe you could use it. But the Ksav Sefer writes very sharp. He says that this person would go ahead and take sugar to be pat of different shahakals. Don't go ahead and do this. Rather, go ahead and eat water, drink water or something else to make a bracha. Now, well, like I said, water's a problem, so I don't know why he gives that answer. What's our candies made out of?
Candies?
Yeah.
Pure sugar.
No, not sugar. Corn syrup. So that's a big shaila. Could I go ahead and take a winky? Yeah, we want to get a shakal. What are you doing? Water, we said, no, not again. Orange juice, yeah, you could, but you don't drink orange juice. Orange juice, when we were children, it was very expensive. We don't have orange juice in our houses. So what do you have? Soda, it's already, at this age, from 40 and up, soda's not healthy. So what are you going to get your shakal in? Right? You must pick what bracha to make on this. So you're going to have a shakal. What are you going to make your shakal on?
Chocolate, also a shayla.
Chocolate is also a shakal. Flavored seltzer. Okay,
Maybe.
flavored seltzer. Okay, not everyone has that. So you'll take a little candy. What's a candy?
Coffee?
Candy?
Coffee, you said.
Coffee, but we're talking about a flesh soup. Okay, yeah, black one.
Whatever.
Okay, but a coffee might be a eitz. You know that?
Yeah, the
The
whole
coffee
share.
doesn't-
You have a whole share. You have to have a whole share in that.
Yeah. No, because it comes from the ikatachlis is for the coffee, not for the meat. Okay, not for now. But akapanim. So what should you make? So you'll take a candy. So a candy's made out of sugar. No, today it's made out of corn syrup. What's corn syrup made out of? Meat? What meat? Oh, meat. Oh, yeah. Okay, fine. That's obviously. Right. Okay, you take a piece of meat. Yeah, but let's say you don't have the meat in front of you yet. Your wife didn't bring out the meat. That's coming out later. You have a whole suda going on here. Okay, so Yeah, it's on the summer. You have to know if you're taka thirsty. We spoke about it a few times already that Ba'an Leib, Chavetz Chaim, Seif Yamav, they never made a bracha on shahakal on water because the older you get, you don't feel you need it. They never made a shahakal on water. That we spoke about that. That doesn't mean that you're thirsty. Very not pashut. Okay, that's the last sugi in Ketzim Avachim. Okay, so I want to tell you what the Chut HaMeshulas brings. You think you became the Chasam Sofer became Chasam Sofer Stam Mazai? You know what he learned a little bit? No. Zok the Chut HaMeshulas, the Chasam Sofer, when he was 6 years old, he learned already Ganzach HaRav. We're having a hard time over here. We're 65 and then we're having a hard time with it. When 6 years old, he learned already Ganzach HaRav. And Chasam Sofer, I just want to tell you, Chasam Sofer, in the last 200 years, he's the most ungenommen by Allah Kreisen. He did something. I asked this to the Matzah of HaRav. What was his chus? To be ungenommen by every single Hasidim, Litvisha. There's never someone that was so ungenommen. Maybe the Chavetz Chaim, which is many years later, and even them, the Mishabur, some Sofers by every single Kreis in the world is ungenommen Chasam Sofer. Satma is very, everyone. What was his chus? No good kasha? Okay. So I asked the Matzah of HaRav, and it was Chasam Sofer's yard site. It was, I think, a few years ago.
No.
No. It was a few years ago.
But it was 2 weeks
It
ago.
was like on Shabbos, and I was speaking my shul on Shabbos, and I also know because in this ayah, with this ayah, like how did he have that schus? But Kitza, I found it later in a sefer that someone asked the Shaila, and to Friediger, Shaykh was Chabin Rav. And he came up, there was a whole Maisa that he felt that some Sefer had this chus. But okay.
What was
I'm
the
not going to
story?
get into it now because it could take
Oh, you know what?
At the
Okay,
yeah. But okay, fine. The kids are Maisa, but it's a Meshunadige thing. Some Sefer is like, it's unbelievable how he was zeichet. He has Allah Shas, he has Jewish, he has Chuvis, everything that's ungenommen more than anyone else by Allah.
because you're saying because it was a Kaddish.
By the internet Asifa. Like, all of a sudden, that Hasidic Yid from Montreal,
The Jibedai.
very good. I'm sorry for the Heilig. I was like, wow, something all the way. Like, it was so interesting to me to see that. Mamish, I'm Einikel from Mimosa, so that's why I feel like. Aaron, the way he spoke about Chasam Sofer, when he saw Chasam Sofer Einikel, he would Mamish go Meshuggah. My uncle went there and he said, Sofer Einikel, he would Mamish Kush with Chasam Sofer Einikel. There's something special about it. Back upon him, getting back to this. So Chasam Sofer, when he was 6 years old, he learned already Ganzach HaRav. From then on, he stopped eating sugar. He said it's a suffix bracha. He doesn't want to get into it. And they write that he liked sugar. He was a regular child. He liked sugar. There was no candies then. What they ate for candy, the treat was sugar. What was Shabbos party? Sugar. And he would not eat it because of suffix bracha. So he was already Kaivish as Yetzirah when he was 6 years old. You're talking about, okay, but upon him, so he was very makbid in that. Now, what the bigger shaila is, so we're saying now, the Chai Adam says, you could masupik in a bracha, you go ahead and you make a shahaka on sugar, no problem, we're very bothered with it. If that's a shulchan and others are bothered, why are you using something which is a suffix bracha within itself, not just a suffix bracha. We've said, Rav Rishonim hold, you make a eitz. So good, the Mechaber tells us you make a shahaka, so that's what we do. But Rav Rishonim say you make a eitz. The Ikar Rishonim, not just I'm saying the Ikar Rishonim that we rely on. The Rosh and Taisvis and the Rif and the Bahag and so many Ikar Rishonim say there's a Ruah, you make a eitz. So it's such a chiddush that Chai Adam came along and said that no, you could take this and make a shahaka to part of other food. Now, yeah. That's okay, good. But you know what I mean? I can't lie, but to go part to something that you're suffering, this is a suffix, go and just knock it out. Now, the Tar says a very interesting halacha. He says in Sifkat Yud Gimel, he says near Pashat, Shemish Shafan of Priyacha, Sheyivarech Allah v'yatza gam al tzukah. And this is a very interesting halacha in HBrachos. If you made a bayir priyates on an apple, and then you decide to eat a sugar, you do not make a shahakal. The eights of the apple had to that sugar. What do you mean? Sugar is shahakal. Come to Taz and Zok, no, because since there's ikadeus in the Rishonim that hold that you make a eights, the ones that made a bayir priyates, I'm yoitze on the sugar. So now I'm going to go ahead and make a shahakal that's a bracha levatala. Bracha shenzicha, bracha levatala. He was going on Rabbi Black. it comes out that someone had an apple, and then he decides to eat a winky, which is made out of sugar. You made a bracha of a tolif, you made a shackle. I just made it up. A winky is made out of sugar. I don't think a winky is corn syrup. I think a winky is corn syrup. You know what a winky is? A choo-choo. What do you remember when you were a kid? You bought in the machine a choo-choo, right?
Oh, those little things that they give at Shalom Zachars.
No.
Yeah, those red and yellow things. No, what are those? What are those called?
What?
Those
Right,
little,
they come in a plastic wrapper. There's like 15 pieces. Today it doesn't work anymore. You can't give that to kids anymore. But I'm all. No, it looks like chalk. It looks like chalk.
those little red and yellow things you give at Shalom Zachars. What are those? That's also pure cane
Red
sugar.
and yellow?
No, those little things that are slightly.
You
Those
haven't been
little.
by Shalom Zachar for many years.
Yeah,
You're talking about Abbas.
Yeah, not arbus. Those little red sugar things. You know what I'm talking about? Those little red and yellow things. They. They're not triangle. They're like little. Sometimes they're rectangle, little ridges, small ridges, and then whatever. What's the difference? Pure sugar cane.
Right.
The best replaces pure sugar cane. No, it's pure sugar.
Uh-huh.
So say it's a bracha v'tal because
The Taz tells that the Ikad din is really a Bayer Page. So with Mesupik, we make a shackle. But since this thing is not, you made it ready by Page, Zok the Taz, you're not allowed to go ahead and make a shackle. Now the Biur Halach is Metaman. Okay, but okay, you're right. We're not going to the Mechaber. We're saying what the Taz felt that the Mechaber would hold also. Biur Halach says no. My cigarette, there are many places that hold the Adama, there are many places that hold shackle. You can't say that if you made a 8, you might see on this. So the Rabbi dings on the Taz, and he says, don't be making with this lekatchila. If you have another first make a bracha shahakal on the sugar, and then make a 8 on the apple. Yeah? As I said, the Rabbi because of this kasha. First make a shahakal on the sugar. Normally a 8 goes before shahakal, but over here first make a shahakal on the sugar, and then make a 8 on the apple. Now, I'm not going to go into that. That's a whole nother nicer if you're allowed to do that. But what's halacha l'maisa? Like this. The B'tzelach Chachma says that first you make a Bayer Pri on the Pri, and then make a shahakal on the sugar. And his lashon is Hanach lahem li Yisrael shem einam neviim b'nei neviim heim uketayim ma'is. They're doing right. Finished. Very interesting lashon. And the B'tzelach Chachma. The B'tzelach Chachma was the Debetzina Rav's brother. The Debetzina Rav brought a sefer Be'er Moshe, and the B'tzelach Chachma was his brother from Australia. I'm sure you remember him. He was your sandik.
your sandik. Wow.
So we have a yid here that came special from Australia to hear the shir, and he says that the B'tzelach Chacham was his sandik, so it was kedai to say him over. So he says like that. Moshe Matcha Kap told me that Lamaisa do not make another bracha. Moshe Matcha Kap is from the Gedolei HaPoskim today. He's a big Talmud Rabbi Yashiv. He's Yodei Ba'Koil. He wears tefillin the whole day, 5-6 pairs. Whenever you see him, he has tefillin in front of him. He wears talis the whole day. It's Adam Gadol Adam Adam Masmir Atzim. And I speak to him a lot, and he told me that you would not make a bracha. That's what he passes the Maisa.
On pure sugar or
on
what?
sugar squares. You would, if you made a 8 on an apple, and then you want to drink a tea and have that sugar square by your mouth, you do not make a shahakal. Not only that,
If it's poured in, push it. It's a tuffle.
Okay, that's tough. But it's sugar. whatever.
Always cases.
All these cases.
And what if you have a donut and you have that sugar on top and you scrape your finger on it?
That you would not make. If you made a 8, you wouldn't do that either. Now Mitzvah says the opposite. He says if you made a Bayer Pe'adama and then you're eating the sugar, do not make a shakal because Bayer Pe'adama practices it. So we have 3 days and we got all confused there. We have a day that you make a Bayer Pe'adama, we have a day you make a Adama, we have a day a shakal. So good. So what we do, Lamaisa, if you eat sugar itself, you'll make a shahakal. Fine. But what gets us confused is if you add 8s first and then you have sugar and this and that. Okay, so the Maisa, for most of us sitting in the room, it's not healthy to eat plain sugar. Right? And therefore, we're not going to do that. But the Maisa, if you do, try to avoid it and either don't have kavanah to eat it or this or that. Eat it first. That's the best eitzah. The Yav's eitzah is the best eitzah. First, make a bracha shahakal on that, and then eat the fruit. Mitzvah, we'll see you next week.